Hello and welcome to Wasted Plotential, where we discuss the wasted potential of our favourite plotlines. Batman Ninja was a strange film. It was a unique collaboration between Warner Bros. And Japanese animation studios Kamikaze Doga and Yamato Works. For such a unique collaboration, embracing the history of the country the studios originate from as a new setting for Batman, the story really isn't anything special. Batman, along with his numerous allies and enemies and Gorilla Grodd for some reason, gets sent back in time to feudal Japan where they all get era-appropriate new looks. But really, final mecha battle aside, this story could happen in basically any Batman setting that doesn't shy away from super science or magic. It was such a wasted opportunity to do something truly unique. I think it would have been much more interesting to reimagine these classic DC characters as if they originated in that era. For this episode, I won't have much in the way of footage to show, so it'll mostly be still images as I describe my own take on a DC universe set in feudal Japan that I started a few years ago when news about Batman Ninja was coming out. The setting is a mishmash of different eras of ancient Japan, so some details drawn from the nation's history don't really line up, but it makes for a more interesting setting than trying to set it in a specific era. The story centers on Bunji Watanabe, the son of daimyo Tomohisa Watanabe and his wife Mariko. One night while returning from a kabuki performance, the convoy is set upon by a group of assassins. Tomohisa and Mariko are killed while their son flees into a nearby cave. The cave is filled with bats which swarm around the boy, giving him an intense phobia of bats. Bats start flying out of the cave, giving away his hiding spot to the assassins. Before they can strike, the assassins are killed by the clan's ninja retainer, Arinobu Yanatai. Arinobu escorts Bunji to safety, having eliminated all but one of the assailants, the man in the red hood. Arinobu takes Bunji into the mountains of Iga to train him as a ninja so that he may one day hunt down the man in the red hood and kill him, then rebuild the Watanabe clan. Part of this training is a return to the cave he hid in years prior to master his fear so he can utilise it against his enemies as Komori, the ninja Batman. He learns other techniques from other masters of course, such as a powerful Onmyoji in a nearby prefecture. While under his tutelage, Bunji befriends the mage's daughter, Kazana Tanaka, who is also learning from her father. Towards the end of his training, Bunji discovers a possible connection between the red-hooded assassin and Ryuji Katagiri, a lesser lord who secretly abuses his status to engage in various illegal and carnal activities. While undercover as a peasant, Bunji befriends a local girl named Sanai Kairu. After learning what he can from Sanai and the peasants, Bunji infiltrates Ryuji's manor, interrogating and assassinating him. He then hides from the guards in what he assumes to be an empty house, not noticing Sanai as he privately unmasks. Unbeknownst to Sanai, she is actually Ryuji's bastard child, the result of a night of debauchery 20 years ago. Fearful of his own assassination, Ryuji's brother succeeds him and makes a great effort to appease the peasant populace to avoid meeting the same fate. Inspired by Bunji's actions, Sanai adopts her own masked identity as Neko no Ichi, stealing from greedy lords and distributing that wealth amongst the poor. While this is going on, the Watanabe clan is falling into ruin. It's being kept afloat, more or less, by Bunji's cousin, Katsuko Kanemaru, who took over by force with her armed maids. Just as her aunt was married into the Watanabe clan to strengthen the bond between Watanabe and Kanemaru, Katsuko was intended to marry her cousin. The arrangement was called off after the assassination though, which worked out for her seeing how she's a lesbian. She uses her maids as a powerful spy network to keep an eye on the surrounding lands and try to find her cousin. Before her takeover, the clan was run by its retainers such as Matabe Jotaro, the master of the cavalry division. Riding into battle with a rival clan that was looking to take advantage of the fallout from the assassination, Matabe and his forces were wiped out by a rifle-wielding mercenary band that were hired by the rival clan. Matabe's son, Haruchika, follows in his footsteps as a cavalryman. During another battle with the rival clan, Haruchika rides into an ambush set by the same mercenary band, ending up as the sole survivor. While preparing to make his final stand, a shooting star crashes in the area. A dying purple man inside the metal carriage gives Haruchika a green ring, which he uses to construct a horse and samurai weapons and armor from solid green light. After wiping out most of the mercenaries, Haruchika continues defending the Watanabe clan as Midori no Toro, the first Green Lantern of Earth. Jin Goda is the Machibugyo of the Watanabe clan's domain. His dogged investigation into the red-hooded assassin led to an attack on his family in which his daughter Bashida was blinded. The trauma of the incident awakened Bashida's latent psychic powers, allowing her to see through the eyes of others and occasionally see brief glimpses of the future. Through this, word of her incredible wisdom reaches Katsuko, who brings her into the fold to assist her as an oracle of sorts. When Bunji finally returns to the clan, Katsuko puts the Watanabe's resources and her spy network to work to help him find the assassin. She adopts the geisha/ninja persona of Tadarida to assist him. As word of the enigmatic Komori begins to spread, so does his list of allies. Kazana seeks him out to assist him, and he investigates rumours of Neko no Ichi, bringing her into the fold as well. But there are more. Osamu Kuwamoto is the son of Rokuro Kuwamoto, a friend of the Watanabe clan. Osamu was secretly sent to live with an allied clan in Shikoku following the assassination. The ship was hit by a fierce storm and Osamu was left shipwrecked on a small island as the sole survivor. He taught himself to survive with a bow salvaged from the ship. Even as mercenaries and bandits began flocking to the island, Osamu survived on the island for 5 years before hijacking a bandit vessel and sailing back home. After learning of the destruction of the Kuwamoto clan, he wandered until he came across a small farming village named Hoshi, currently under siege by bandits. He fought off the bandits, leading to tales of the Midori no Sogekihei spreading across the nation. When Bunji and friends come to investigate, Osamu joins on the condition that Bunji use his clan's power to protect Hoshi and make it prosper. The leader of those mercenaries is, of course, Sora Wakatsuki, a former protege of Yanatai. Trained in the ninja arts, he left Yanatai to become the most feared mercenary in all of Japan, losing his eye in the process. Now under the name Shikiru, Sora has made an enemy of both Osamu and Haruchika, which will bring him into conflict with Yanatai's other apprentice in due course. From here, we move into Bunji's superhuman comrades. Wataru Bato is a young peasant boy who stumbles across a mystical stone known as the Eia no Ishi. Through the stone, he meets the Yamabushi Hisato. Hisato imbues Wataru with the power to transform into an adult who embodies the samurai ideal with the attributes of 6 mighty deities: the strength of Hachiman, the power of Izanagi, the courage of Susanoo, the speed of Amaterasu, the stamina of Tsukuyomi, and the wisdom of Omoikane. Danuja Hime is the daughter of the Sun Queen Himiko, raised on the island of Yamatai. Tired of the constant conflicts plaguing the nation of Japan, Himiko hosts a contest to choose a champion among her followers to send out and end the conflict, which Danuja wins. Begrudgingly, Himiko accepts the result and outfits her daughter with enchanted armor and weapons to keep her safe as she seeks to bring peace to Japan. While there, she encounters Komori and joins him, sensing that aiding his quest to avenge his assassinated parents will bring her closer to finding the ultimate source of the nation's strife. There is another ally who joins Komori, but first we need to discuss our first real villain. While seizing Africans to be sold into slavery, Portuguese slavers hear rumors of the so-called gorilla village inhabited by intelligent apes empowered by a radioactive meteorite. The slavers ambush the village's leader, Grod, in his sleep, keeping him drugged as they take him back to Portugal and then to Japan to use him as a tribute to the nation's ruler in their trade deals. During the voyage, Grod finally shakes off the effects of the drugs and uses his powers to control the minds of everyone aboard, priest, nun, sailor or slave. Arriving in Japan, he takes control of the fishing village they arrive in and begins expanding his territory as a future haven for his people. Meanwhile, in the 21st century, high schooler Banri Aramaki acquires the power of super speed. He becomes a superhero, Sokudo Sentai, drawing on the tokusatsu heroes of his youth. Growing complacent thanks to his powers, Banri is almost late for school one day. Pushing himself harder than ever before to make it in time, he ends up travelling back in time to the age of the samurai. Banri soon arrives in the village ruled by Grod. Banri is briefly turned into Grod's enforcer until the arrival of Komori and his allies. Banri then joins Komori's group. If not stopped by the heroes, Grod would have eventually become a threat to even the shogun, Araku Ryusei. He is shrewd and calculating in his rule, a genius tactician in war, and a fierce warrior on the battlefield. He is also surprisingly open to Western trade, incorporating some Western design into his famously massive armour. Bunji's investigations into the red-hooded assassin eventually leads to connections to the Shogun. One concept I have for him is that he discovered Kal-El and plans to use him as a secret weapon, but nothing is really finalised regarding a samurai Superman yet. He does, however, still have a superpowered being in his employ. Hayao Rezay is a young man from a fishing village that caught a strange blue beetle one day which created a set of blue armour around his body, part samurai, part insect. With bizarre weapons far beyond his comprehension, he was taken in by the Shogun to help him learn to control his new powers. And finally, the obvious suspect in the red-hooded assassin case is Jokichi Akechi III, a third-generation performer in a well-known kabuki troupe. It was a performance by this troupe that the Watanabes had watched on the night of the assassination. Many years later, Bunji's investigation leads him towards Jokichi's troupe and his inevitable showdown with his nemesis. Of course, Jokichi is joined by his loyal friend and follower, Haru Kuwazawa, who performs most of the female roles in the troupe's performances. In the end, once the assassin is finally dealt with and the corrupt shogun toppled, with help from Danuja and Himiko, Banri is able to return to his own time. Upon arriving there, he looks into the fates of his friends and learns that Komori and his League of Heroes became legends. He is then approached by the present-day Danuja, who proposes they gather a new generation of heroes, maybe starting with Bunji and Sanai's modern-day descendants. And yes, this could lead into a sequel with descendants of those characters that are modern Japanese reimaginings of the original heroes or their sidekicks, such as a Kamen Rider-inspired take on Dick Grayson or Terry McGinnis. Oh, and a Lantern Corps magical girl team. With this, we have a premise that's more unique than some zany time travel adventure that could be told with almost any other Batman, a new setting that can be explored across multiple different points in time with vastly different characters between them, and some interesting new takes on classic DC characters that can appear in future stories and, if they become popular enough, be merchandised. And let's also acknowledge that the film is called Batman Ninja, yet Bruce's redesign is samurai themed. Come on guys, it's not difficult. If you liked this video, why not subscribe and support me on Patreon like these fine people here? If not, then make sure to share it with your enemies so they can suffer along with you. Today's recommended content is the DC Nation short, The Batman of Shanghai, which is another collaboration with a foreign animation studio that is a much more interesting reimagining of the Caped Crusader and his world.